All right, will personal property taxes be phased out in Missouri? Calm down, Gabe.
I would very much like so.
So don't get your hopes up too much, but there is an effort to do that, so let's not rule it out completely.
All right.
By the way, our streaming audio, take us anywhere you want. The app is on all the app stores, and it's free. And, of course, you can always subscribe to our podcast and on-demand listing. So if you want to hear something again, or you happen to miss a show because you're doing something trivial like go to work or something like that, then you can always go catch up on it a little bit later. All right, I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe here and got Stell here. It's 7:39 right now, joined by State Senator Bill Eigel. Bill, first of all, I want to get to some of the campaign-related questions, of course, with your campaign for governor right now. But let me start with a couple of legislative questions. Saw a couple articles this morning regarding some municipalities, some from your neck of the woods, St. Charles County, saying, hey, legislature, could we get a clarification on this senior citizen property tax freeze? And one of the local lawmakers saying, hey, there might be some more governments take advantage of that or implement it if they had some clarification on some things. Are there concerns valid? Is there anything that needs to be done to clarify that? Because I think it's a really good idea to say, hey, the people who have paid their dues for their entire life, we're not going to keep thumping you over the head with property taxes, at least. So what's the status of that?
Yeah, good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me. And yes, Senate Bill 190, we did hear a bill in committee yesterday that would provide some clarifications on the law. And really, some of the municipalities came forward and had some specific hypotheticals that they felt weren't being answered by the bill yet. That didn't stop certain counties from going ahead and implementing that tax cut. St. Charles County is one county that has already implemented the tax cut where we limit or we stop assessment increases on seniors. So I think there is some cleanup language we'll do just to make it very clear that the legislature intended to actually cut taxes. And I don't think that that's going to cause anyone to not adopt the provisions of Senate Bill 190. But as you said, it may help a few other counties indeed go ahead and adopt them once that's clear. So again, just clean up language. It's not going to change any of the heart of the bill, and I expect that'll get done in the next few weeks.
And so is that cleanup language just saying this is what you're allowed to do? I know one of them, they said, well, what's the age that qualifies? I mean, it looks like the original bill was was designed to let the local governments have some leeway here. Others were saying, well, does that mean that they can freeze certain property taxes, like maybe the city, but not freeze it on the schools and that sort of thing? Or is this something that's going to apply across the board?
It's all of the above that you just said. The original bill said any Social Security recipient, which could be a wide variety of folks, younger folks even in certain circumstances. So we're changing that to say 62 and above. Another item is, as you said, there were certain jurisdictions assuming that it only meant county taxes and not school taxes and not, fire department taxes. So we're clarifying that it is all local taxes, county, fire department, schools, libraries, ambulance, all of those, all will be included under SB 190.
Good morning, Bill. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So I want to talk about the push to end personal property taxes. That is my personal crusade, if ever there was one, because I think it's one of the most immoral taxes that one can have as a government. So where are we in that fight?
Great. Yep. That's my crusade too.
All right.
It's I've been working on this for several years. We heard that bill in committee yesterday, and I introduced a bill, Senate Bill 733, which would completely phase out personal property tax. And basically it would work by if and when local revenues increase, and gosh, every year they seem to increase because assessments go up, right? The increase would be offset by a cut each year to personal property tax until personal property tax was gone. So it's a good way to preserve existing budgets while basically saying, hey, revenues, net revenues to government can't go up because we're just going to be cutting personal property tax until it's gone. And unfortunately, a bunch of municipalities showed up and said, oh gosh, we just can't operate if we give any kind of tax cut to the taxpayer. And it was the Cottleville Fire Department, the St. Charles County Ambulance District, the O'Fallon Fire Department, who have consistently showed up and said that if they lose even one single dollar, that they're not going to be able to provide any services to their constituents. And yet, at the same time, in the same interview, I asked them, hey, what are your budgets now? And have you ever had more money than you have right now? And they admitted that they are all at record amounts of revenue, even adjusted for inflation. And yet they still weren't at a place where they could even consider or support any kind of tax cut on the taxpayer. And I'm frustrated by that. I'm frustrated. I think if that bill went to a vote of the people, it probably gets 80 to 90% because the people know that the tax burden in this state is greater than it's ever been before, and they are sick and tired of politicians in Jefferson City bowing to these municipal municipal entities, not corporate entities, municipal entities coming into Jefferson City and gaining so much sympathy because, gosh, if we lose $1, we're not going to be able to put fires out anymore. If we lose $1, we're not going to be able to drive our ambulance anymore. None of that is true. There is plenty of room to make government more efficient. We have bigger surpluses in Jefferson City than we've ever had before. So we can cut the tax burden. And gosh, these Republicans we keep elected into office, we should cut the tax burden. So we should have done it years ago. We're going to try again this year. But I tell you what, if I can't accomplish it as a state senator, it's going to be my number one priority as the governor of this state. I'm going to lead the government in Jefferson City to eliminate personal property tax. If the day dawns that I'm governor, you will have paid your last personal property tax. That is a promise and a commitment for me.
Okay, I want to get to that campaign in just a minute. But speaking of that, you talk about all the Republicans and what should happen because of the overwhelming number of Republicans. It's interesting to me that you're part of the Freedom Caucus. And the reaction from so many Republicans is, well, I don't know about these guys. What kind of trouble are they going to start? Instead of saying, all right, let's look at a free market type agenda. What do they got in line? Let's talk about it. What's the relationship like now between, you and other members of the Freedom Caucus and other members of the Republic and some of the Republicans who are being a little squeamish about this, they're conservatives. I mean, so where's the status of the relationship? Because we've heard a lot about, the fact that some things aren't getting done because personal relationships have broken down. What's the truth in all of it?
The truth is there is a tense environment in the Senate right now. And, the problem is not that we want to call ourselves the Freedom Caucus and, other folks are upset that they weren't in the Freedom Caucus because they think they're conservative. The problem is there are too many Republicans in the Senate and the House that don't really mean it when they say they want to do big, red, conservative things. I'll give you an example. Number one priority, we just published this yesterday. The number one priority of the Freedom Caucus to accomplish this year, number one is accomplishing and passing IP reform so that we can protect the initiative petition process on the ballot and make sure that we don't have these out-of-state special interests coming into our state. Number two priority is personal property tax cut, by the way. But number one's IP reform. Now, Republicans in Jefferson City and all over the state have been saying this is the number one Republican priority for the past 2 years. Number one priority. Nothing's more important to that. And yet, here we are in the third week of session, and neither in the House or the Senate have the leadership of those chambers even referred one of the IP bills to committee. They haven't even taken action, and we're in the third week. And this is the problem. They continue to say, we're Republicans, we want to be conservative, we're going to do all those big things, and then they just don't do it. And this is what drives the need for a Freedom Caucus. So what are we going to do? We're going to be loud and bold about the fact that we're going to start killing all the Jefferson City sludge bills that don't really do anything to help the people of the state. They just empower and enrich the special interest in Jefferson City. And if we have to kill every one of those bills, which are a favorite of these moderate rhino Republicans, in order to get the big things done, then we're going to do it. And that is what's causing tension because they know, the rhinos know, that we can absolutely do that when we have an effective fighting force of 6 or 7 senators that are willing to stand up and fight for these principles. So the problem is not personality conflicts. The problem is not personal relationships. The problem is there's too many Republicans that don't want to do Republican things. And then there's a group of real Republicans, of which I'm a part of in the Freedom Caucus, that are sick and tired of it, and we're going to stand up and fight.
Bill, you mentioned a promise that if you become governor, you're gonna cut personal property taxes. I would be the first one to hold you to that promise, sir. But give us a little update about how the campaign for the governorship is going.
It's great. We just had a fantastic fundraising quarter. We raised over $600,000 last quarter. Last year, in total, we raised more than $2.5 million for our campaign. Nobody in Jefferson City thought that we would be able to raise this much money. And by the way, that was $2.5 million we raised by more than 100,000 individual donations. So my average donation is about $25, compared to a guy like Mike Kehoe that's getting enormous checks from the special interest. His average donation is something $7,000 or $8,000 because he's got a few donors that are very connected in Jefferson City, and he's trying to buy this race. Well, I've got actual everyday folks that are putting in $5, $10, $15 at a time to fund me, helping get my message out. And we are absolutely killing it. And I tell you what, Jay Ashcroft, who didn't, he actually lost money last quarter because his message is so stale and so associated with the status quo that nobody's buying into it. So we feel like we have a tremendous amount of momentum. We're going up in the polls. We've now moved into second place ahead of Mike Kehoe. And, for all those folks down there in Jefferson City, they keep saying, Bill Eigel can't win this race. Bill Eigel could never win this race. They're only saying that because they could never imagine the Missouri that I'm talking about, where we're going to get rid of personal property tax. And even though the people in Jefferson City in the hallways of power don't think it's important that we should get rid of personal property tax, as we've discussed here on the radio this morning, there's a heck of a lot of folks that are ready to support a guy like me because I am going to get rid of personal property tax. And Gabe, I'll say one thing. I'm not going to cut personal property taxes, Governor. I want to be clear. I'm getting rid of personal property tax completely, entirely. You will not have to pay rent on your vehicle. But in order to get to that world, we're going to defeat the swamp on August 6th.
All right, State Senator Bill Eigel, let's go ahead and give out the website again. Gabe's smiling over there.
Oh, man.
As well.
Ear to ear.
But, we've already tagged you on the social media, but what's the website people want to get in touch, learn more?
BillEigel.com. Go on there. You can sign up. You can read about the platform. You can read about personal property tax. You can sign up to be a citizen co-sponsor of my bill to eliminate personal property tax on my website. Check it out. We've had 35,000, 40,000 people sign up on the website already. This message. It's going well. Let's go, Missouri.
All right, Bill. Thanks for being back on. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a great morning.